Oh, man. All right, Mikey, we are live. Michael Knight in New York, Vinnie with you on the Mikey and Vinnie Broadcasting Network. He is Michael Knight. He is down in Pasadena, California.
He's New York Vinnie. He's in Seattle, Washington, where they've sent their weather to LA today, and it it's a very inconvenient time for us to have overcast skies and the danger of rain because Clarence Thomas is over here staying with us for a couple of days,
Is he?
and I made him breakfast, and he said, "What's this?" He wanted eggs Benedict, and I said we were going to go to Trader Joe's and pick up a few items. He said, "No, no, no. I want to go to," and he gave me a list of vacation spots that he wants to attend, including Laguna Beach. And I guess I have to take him to these places. It's my turn to host him, and I didn't know this was coming up. I thought he was coming next week, but he showed up last night, and he brought some gal with him. Is that his wife?
Jenny? Is that Jenny?
I think that's Jenny. Yeah.
Jenny,
she's an interesting gal.
Yes, that's his lovely wife, Jenny.
She wanted to know when could we stay at the Beverly Hilton until we got our schedules squared away. So I guess I have to take him over there later today. But he's a handful. He just wants to go, go, go. It's one vacation spot after the other.
I'm going to give you a tip with Clarence. Keep him away from the Coke cans.
Really?
I'm just saying.
Now, did you say Coke cans or Coke-can?
No, Coke cans. Coke cans. The cans of Coca-Cola.
Pop.
From what the word is, he leaves them with hair on them all the time. So.
Well, no, that doesn't make sense.
I'm telling
anyway,
you.
he's a goer, as they say in the business. He wants to go, go, go. Palm Springs, Laguna Beach, Beverly Hills. He wants to go. There's a few places in Santa Monica. He wants to stop by boutiques, so he wants to pick up a few items. He's a vacation kind of guy. He doesn't like the middle of the road, convenient suburban neighborhood. He wants to be in a vacation spot.
No, you're not going to find him at Motel 6. You're not going to find him where Tom has left the light on for him.
I think that I made a mistake agreeing to this because it's going to take days to satisfy his needs. It's going to take days and days, and he doesn't have any walking around money. This is kind of weird.
He just goes into a store and says, "Give me 2 jalapeno bagels, 2 onion, 2 garlic, 2 plain. I'm Clarence Thomas."
And depending on what neighborhood you're in, people say, "Did you used to be in the Spinners? I heard you guys just got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame."
And he says, "You'll have to ask my law clerk." I don't.
Anyway, he's into me for a couple grand already, just in cash, and we have a lot of places to go today. He's got a list, and it's quite remarkable, really, for a guy who doesn't live in Southern California. He seems to know a lot about the hot spots.
Is it me, Michael, or would we be better off with Judge Judy on the Supreme Court than half the people that are on there?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, as they say, when someone makes a suggestion that you can't agree with. You see, I don't think Judge Judy is a real judge. And I know she claims to have years of experience. And I know she's hot-headed like so many judges are. And also, you have to qualify it. Is that a judge, or is that just a Texas judge? See, there's a difference.
What's happened now is in judging, as we call it in the profession, judging, we now have anybody can be a judge. I mean, Steve Harvey has a judging show, and Ice-T has a judging show.
Did they wear robes?
Boy, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think they do. Judge Mathis
can't be a judge without a robe. Yeah. Well,
so you've absolutely watered down the judging.
I see sort of an ugly trend taking shape here.
I think, Mikey, I may be wrong on this, but I think one of the days a week that we're on the air, we ought to have a judging show.
We're going to need a cast. We have to have someone who didn't pay their rent but meant to.
We can find that easy.
And
and a landlord that has been mean to the people who didn't pay their rent.
He'll be
We're
sorry to
gonna
be
need,
before you, because once you get
yeah,
your robe on, I know how you are.
yeah, we're gonna need
A
a
bailiff.
couple of witnesses, at least one or two, to sit on each side so that you can say, well, what are you doing here? What's your interest here? What's this all about? Um, you know, and so you're gonna have two people that are willing to go to court and lie. But then again, it's television, so
So it's not really, you haven't broken any official laws, maybe a
right.
television law.
You
A
haven't
television,
perjured yourself. You haven't seen anybody come in on one of these television judging shows and pull somebody out for perjury.
you
We're
haven't
gonna
said
need
anything as strange as Tucker Carlson, for instance.
right, which this could be a future for Tucker.
He could be a
Um,
judge, yeah.
yeah, I mean Judge Tucker. There once was a judge named Tucker who promised that he didn't. No, I can't do that.
Who lost his bib and Tucker. Where is my shirt? I can't find it's out in the dirt. Oh, judge, something, 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 mucker.
or maybe Mother Tucker. Um, so we'll need that. We need a bailiff.
Yep.
If
He
I
has to
had my
be
choice,
has to be tall and laconic. Willie McCovey would be my choice for the
how
bailiff.
about Randy Johnson? He looks like he'd be a good bailiff. You
and
could
he- and being gruff comes so naturally to him.
right. You could put Randy Johnson in a uniform, in a police uniform, a bailiff's uniform, and he could pull it off. I think. So Randy Johnson could be our bailiff. Being as I watched the new Judge Judy show that's on Freevee, which is Amazon. Judge Judy works for Amazon now. Um, we need an extremely attractive and sexy law clerk.
The clerk of the court.
Who just sits there and if Judge Judy says, call this number to find out if these people did this, she can pick up the phone, her cell phone, and call a number or look it up on the computer.
It's usually the other way around. With the clerk of a court, she tells the judge what to do. Here's your next case. Here's what you thought. Here's the discovery. Here's the doinus. Here's what you do. And
Well,
what do
that's
I say?
but in this situation, I guess to save money, that's what the bailiff does.
Okay.
So, all rise, Judge Judith Shineland, here versus calling case number 50826. I don't know where they get the case numbers from. Um, Knight versus Richichi. Knight is accused of, and then you have to stop the action, and you have to have the typewriter guy, accused of saying
Oh,
wrong words on show.
the what am I saying? The person who takes the notes, stenographer.
Yeah, and we also have a stenographer who sits there with the machine that nobody understands. How do you type the entire language with 8 keys?
It's a strange form of shorthand, which I can't even begin to understand. But I like it when you're going too fast, and she just says, "Hold it." I'm not a whippet. I can't go that fast.
Right. Or you have to go back to something. Read me back the remarks, and she pulls out the adding
slip.
machine tape. But it's folded adding machine tape.
It folds right back into the box.
Right, it folds right back into the box. I mean, could you imagine what I would look like if that? It looked like a ticker tape parade every day.
Well, what you do, see, Vinny, is you go to the witness box, you kick over her table, and the paper goes everywhere. Good move.
And I don't want the desk thing. I want, because I'm a fan of two of the greatest episodes of serials ever done that later became television shows, was the Three Stooges in court and the Abbott and Costello show, where they had Lou up on the witness stand and Hillary Brooke, and I forget there was another woman. I think there was 3 women, and they were in like another section of the court, and the judge would look at Costello and say, "Mr. Costello, are you positive?" And the 3 women at the same time, with nice, with their legs hanging out, would cross their legs to, "He's positive. He's positive. He's positive. 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 He's positive. He's positive. He's positive. Positive. Positive."
It's like a Greek chorus, but instead they're singing chorus girls.
Yeah, and I think that you need. I mean, you have to go into the past to create the future.
Did Superman ever go to court? Did he ever get pulled into court and have to testify as Clark
Boy, I'm
Kent?
trying to think. No, no, I don't remember Well, he was arrested a couple of times.
Clark Kent or Superman?
Superman was arrested, let's see, one time in a South American country where he was put in jail and had to call on his old professor friend to teach him how to separate himself into 2 people so that he could stay in jail, because Superman would never break out of jail, but also be somewhere else at the same time to save El Presidente. The problem with that was,
didn't he want to work on his defense? Oh, the president, after being saved, would get him out of prison, I take it.
yeah. The problem is when he separated himself, he didn't have full power. Either one of them didn't have full power.
Half power.
And actually, in the episode, he got shot.
No.
They shot him. He caught him in the back.
Shot him in the back, the cowards.
And it hurt because he went, "Oh." Only time you ever see Superman get shot, and it hurts. So he was arrested, but
Yeah,
they never showed him.
If Superman stubs his toe in his cell, does that hurt, or is he impervious to it?
Oh, I think he's impervious to it unless he separates himself.
Yeah,
because they did show a scene where he grabs the bars of the jail because the one half of him wants to get out. One of them is
right.
And he can't pull the bars. So, but the 2 of them together pull the bars, and they can pull it out of the wall. And he said he turns to one of the prison guards when he's leaving for the final time, just before they shoot him, and he says, "I had some help with this."
Who helped you? I did.
So they inject a little bit of humor into the proceeding. So, I mean, that's the only time that I could think of where he had any kind of court or testimony or anything like that. There was a great election episode, which many years ago I re-edited into a Hanging Chad episode.
Uh-huh.
Where Superman saves the day by, at super speed, putting all the Chads back in.
Superman registered to vote, do you think?
Oh, yeah. He encourages people to vote. And, it's funny because in the one where they have it's a crooked election in Metropolis, and the mob is trying to get their guy into the
office.
Into the office of mayor. And so they put Superman in a super freeze. This guy comes up with a freeze that they freeze him, and he can't fly, can't do anything, loses all his power. And there's so many great little parts in this episode, because there's one where Clark Kent has to sneak into Lois Lane's office because Clark comes back to the office and he's all white from being frozen. So he sneaks into Lois's office and takes out her makeup and, does himself up so that he doesn't look like he's frozen. Of course, everybody knows that Superman is frozen. And then there's another part of it.
Clark, your life is so complicated.
Right. So we see Clark for the first time put makeup on. and there's another part of it where the professor theorizes. There's always a professor, and the professor theorizes that he needs something with incredible heat to melt the ice, to melt them. So as he melts himself, he says, "Well, the only thing I can think of is a blast furnace, like a steelworks." So Superman shows up at Metropolis
How about
Steelworks.
a hair dryer, for crying out loud? You don't have to go to a steel plant. For crying out
Well,
tears, that's the
it's
only thing
not
this guy
that
can.
way.
Well, the only thing I can think of. Well, let's think a little longer. Let's put our heads together.
Yeah,
We got all afternoon. Clarence Thomas is over here. We're going to go to the beach. Come on, think of something.
yeah. How about we start small and we work our way out
into a blast furnace? A steel rolling mill is the only thing that'll work.
So, and naturally, nobody's in the mill because it's election day and everybody has off on election day.
Holy moly.
So we know we're not in the United States. Anyway, so he gets thawed out and he shows up at the polling place. And, word has gotten out that Superman is back and his powers are back and everything. And people aren't afraid to go and vote. So one of the thugs for the gangster guy that's running for mayor shows up at the election. And it's great because they nailed it. They got the table and the two old ladies sitting at the table and the voting machine, and they nailed it.
Name and address, please.
And so the guy says, "Who you?" So Superman looks at the guy and says, "Who you voting for?" And the guy says, "Well, that's my business, Superman."
Yeah.
And Superman looks at him and says, "That's right, and I hope it always will remain that way." And then the guy who's voting, the thug comes over, and Superman's ready to grab him and, bend a bar around his head or something to, smash him with his hand. And
he's going to thaw him out with a blast furnace.
Yeah,
that's what he's going to do.
Well, he was a little hot after getting thawed out. And the guy, who looks like he's an average Joe from the 50s who just came from work, says, "Oh, no, Superman, allow me." And the guy rears back and boom! Knocks the guy across the room. Election is saved. Wilson wins. And Perry White, once again, is
maintains his behind-the-scenes power. The man behind the throne, Perry White.
He was into a lot of, Perry was a very, he was a former police commissioner who had now moved over to the, the media side.
Did he ever work with Batman or any of the other superheroes, Perry?
Perry, no. I think Perry was exclusively to Metropolis.
That's right, because Batman's in Gotham City.
They had
right?
all of these superheroes in one city, though.
Well, but it would have to be a big city, and they could just have like sections that they're responsible for. Like you wouldn't want to get into Spider-Man's web if you were Batman, because you couldn't get out. Batman, right. He's got lots of little knives in his belt, but if you stumble into Spidey's web, who do you call? And I don't mean the Ghostbusters. Who do you call to get you? I guess you call the fire department.
Right. So, well, Batman has Sector 1, and Aquaman has the waterfront. Obviously.
The Hudson.
The Hudson. Well, actually, he has the Hudson, the East River, and parts of Staten Island.
And isn't there a Harlem River?
There's a Harlem River. Yeah, he takes on the Harlem River is the extension of the East River. So yeah, and then he has New York Harbor and Bowery Bay. I mean, he has to go over to Bowery Bay, and where else does he go? There's a few other little
the Verrazano Straits. I guess you've covered that somehow.
Yes, the Verrazano Straits is where it's really New York Harbor. It's where Staten Island and Brooklyn kind of come together, and when you go through the Verrazano Straits, you're in New York Harbor proper.
Now, what's happened to Brooklyn? It went through so many quick changes and so many. It evolved very quickly from a backwater neighborhood to the front of the line hipster central, and I just wondered if it has a new personality, or did it take on something?
Still the same. I mean, it's amazing to me to go to Brooklyn and see neighborhoods that you wouldn't get out of your car in. You know, I mean, you would if you had to go to that neighborhood for something. I mean, you wouldn't stop. The cops would tell you, don't stop for red lights.
Yeah,
Just slow down and look and treat it as a stop sign and go. Because if you stop your car, somebody's going to come up to you and kill you. And it was like that. And now these are those old brownstones that used to be
tenement.
tenement. $100 a month for a cold water flat with a bathroom down the hall that 6 apartments shared, are now going for $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to see that transformation. The only neighborhoods that have stayed pretty much the same is there's still a patch of right on the line of Brooklyn and Queens, out by Conduit Boulevard. So this would be the south side of Long Island. Brooklyn and Queens are both on Long Island. There's a patch there that's still pretty much a bad neighborhood. You wouldn't want to go walking around there at night. So that's remained the same. Bay Ridge and Bensonhurst have remained the same, which were good neighborhoods. It would be hard to walk down, Bay Ridge Avenue or Third Avenue or Fifth Avenue in Bay Ridge, except some of the signs are different for the businesses, but there's still pizza places on every other corner and all different kinds of the Saturday Night Fever neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's still the same, but everything else is different. Greenpoint, which was a combination of a bad neighborhood and a Polish neighborhood when I was growing up.
Sort of like
It,
Hayward, California.
yeah, I mean, it was, there was a ton of Polish, it was a Polish immigrant settled area, and so if you wanted good Polish food, you go there. If you wanted good German food or, German area, you go to Ridgewood. Um, those neighborhoods now are all, remodeled brownstones with, $5,000 a month apartments. And the reason
And
for that,
lo, where is my Wiener Schnitzel? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all the German places, there's a couple of them left, but they're pretty much gone. There used to be a great one on Metropolitan Avenue called Niederstein's. And it was it was in the cemetery, actually. There was this Metropolitan Avenue the street runs in the middle of two cemeteries. St. John's cemeteries on both sides of it. And
So it's Saint John and Saint John.
yeah, it's St. John's North and St. John's. My mother's buried there. My grandmother is buried there. My Aunt Rose is buried. I got about 5, 6, 7 relatives buried there on the Middle Village side. But right at the corner of 69th Street and Metropolitan Avenue, they carved a little plot out of the cemetery, and I guess it was there for years and years and years and years. They built Niederstein's, and it was this old big house that was a German restaurant. And I mean, you could smell this place a block away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the odors wafting out of there were incredible, and the food they used to make.
There's a place on La Brea here called Wiener Schnitzel, and Clarence Thomas wants to go there, but it's not just to get the Wiener Schnitzel. He says he wants to wear his boots, and I thought that was kind of freaky, don't you think? I mean, he's not. I don't think he's all there.
I'm sure that Clarence. I'm sure he'll feel comfortable there. They'll make him feel comfortable, even though they probably will all look at him and go Schwarzer. They'll all make him feel comfortable. I mean, it's a really weird dynamic with with some people where they look at somebody and not atone for, what's the word I'm looking for, apologize for their racism
Right.
or their bigotry, and they themselves are in that group that's most likely to be bigoted against or racism against. It's always something that amazes me. It always amazes me how African American men, and again, not all. I mean, you can't say all of a certain group do anything, but for years there was this kind of feeling from African American men about homosexuals. And if there's two groups in this country, or two out of three, I mean, that have been persecuted and that have been maligned and injured just on the principles of who they were, not as a person, but as an entity, it's black people, homosexuals, and Jews. I mean, so I don't understand. It was hard for me. It has been hard for me to understand how a black person could be pissed off or be upset at a homosexual person.
Pecking order.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess it's the same with the Irish, right? Or the Italians. They were picked
Actually,
on.
as you know, nothing is the same with the Irish. They say it's the same, then they start discussing it, and pretty soon it's not the same.
Not
Then
the
it'll
same.
never be the same. And over my dead body, not the same. Beyond this spot, this far and no further, it'll never be the same. Sunday, Bloody Sunday, and here I brought some rocks.
Yeah, anybody who's seen the Banshees of Inisherin will attest to that. It's just not the same.
The banshee is a very loud thing to have around the house. For those of us who have pet banshees, cheeses. Midnight, you never know what's going to happen.
Did you and I look up what a banshee was a couple of months ago? Did we do that, or was I
It's
talking to
possible.
somebody else?
It's possible. It is a malevolent spirit known for its loud howl, and it's
Right. I always thought it was a type of monkey,
confined to the British Isles.
but it seems that it's not. It's something you don't want to have living next door to you. That's for sure.
Well, you wouldn't want a monk live, to be honest. There's a lot of chanting that goes on, and they wear robes.
A monk
They
or
make,
a monkey, unless it was
some make beers, some make champagne.
Mickey Dolenz, would be the only monkey I would think.
He's the only one left. Yeah,
He's the last one. Yeah. How did that happen?
those three other monkeys.
I was rhetorically asking the question, but
Oh, I thought you wanted to know.
oh no, I know how. Matter of fact, I probably know how they all died. But
I've become more insensitive since Clarence has lived here because
really insensitive hump. It looks like.
he's just so demanding that you're always working on a short fuse.
And Mikey, the interesting thing is that it's not just him.
No, his wife is
It's
pretty strange.
it looks like it's all of them. It looks like it's a frat house.
And they order out more than they can ever eat. It's just the doors ringing and food's coming. No one's eating it. They're not thinking before they act. I don't know.
It kind of reminds you of like Caesar's tribunal there, the court.
Great Caesar's ghost. That's what it
Yeah,
reminds me of.
as we go back to Perry White, who was the police commissioner
Yeah.
before he was the
And keep
newspaper.
in mind, there's been no confirmed sightings of Caesar's ghosts. Great Caesar's ghost, minor league Caesar's ghost, sixth
No,
grade
no,
Caesar's
no,
ghost.
no, Michael, you are
Where,
wrong.
where has that been cited?
There was an episode of Superman where Great Caesar's ghost came back.
Oh God. Was he in prison, doubled down, trying to get through the bars?
I forget exact. They had drugged Perry White, and
He had a heroin dream.
he had gone through some. I don't know, something. And he said, "Great Caesar's ghost." And he goes, "Yes, I am Caesar." He had the hat and the whole thing.
Robe.
He got to meet Great Caesar.
So there's two people that we've already discussed today who wear robes: judges and Caesars,
And Caesar's,
the head of
yes.
the head of government, and what was in the Roman Empire.
Well, robes were big back then, weren't they?
But you had to have one hand like this in front of you with the robe over it. The robe goes around and around, but if you drop this hand, it all starts to unravel, and you're there in the great altogether.
Well, what do you do with that piece of the robe? Is that so you put it down
You
so you
hold,
don't get
you
the
just
seat?
hold, you just hold it until you're sitting, and then you can relax and keep it in your lap until it's time to get up, and then you have to hold that part of the robe again.
Well, I would think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this. I wasn't there, but it would appear to me that that would be a device to keep from skid marks. I mean, I can't imagine with all that eating and all that drinking that there wasn't
Well,
also a lot of farting going on.
keep in mind that they did invent the Roman bath for a good reason. They needed to wash up, keep tidy. And did they get the Roman bath from the Greeks? Did they take that from the Greeks? Were the Greeks bathing first?
Uh,
Because the
I got a line and I can't use it.
the Germanic tribes and the Gaelic tribes and the tribes of Britannia low on the scale of bathing and personal hygiene.
Didn't think that they needed to take a bath or to
Very low.
wash up or no. I
No commitment to washing the naughty bits, just none whatsoever.
yeah, I can't imagine that. I mean, the Greeks lived in the Mediterranean countries. There, and those places tend to get hot
And they had an
and
ocean. They knew
kind of sweaty.
they knew the benefits of getting in the water. They're surrounded by ocean.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to think that you go to
Or
the
sea, actually, an inland
bath,
sea. Yeah.
and take a little, you know.
But the Romans were famous everywhere they went. You get a good road and you get a public bath, a nice one, a big one with warm
Yeah,
water.
well, they knew what the people wanted, and the people wanted roads. They wanted to go from one place to another, and they wanted baths.
They
Now,
wanted
the
to be
problem in
clean,
the United
squeaky
States is
clean.
we never put that together.
And you could also, after the bath, you weren't that far from any Italian food. There was Italian food everywhere in the Roman Empire, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think yeah. Now their Italian food may have been a bit different than our Italian food, but I think the basics were there.
The basic being that there were a lot of pig farmers who did well on the way to market,
Yeah, yeah. And they used pieces of the pig that we here in America would never use.
like the hooves.
The hooves. I mean, the hooves are a popular. I mean, I remember going to the Italian grocery when I was a kid, and they'd have a huge jar
Pickled pig's feet.
of pickled pig's feet. And they'd be in that thing, and people say, "Oh, yeah, I want 2 pounds," and they'd open the thing, and the guy in this was the '60s. They'd stick their hand in there and just pick out. Hey, if you're eating a pickled pig's feet, are you really that worried about the hygiene?
My father did not eat them every day, but the only time how I became acquainted, I should say, with pickled pig's feet is my father had a jar of them, and they were tall jars, like a big
Yeah,
pickle jar.
yeah. My dad had them too.
And you fish out a pickled pig's foot, and you gnaw on it for a while, and you don't eat the whole thing. You clean the area of viscera and meat with your
Yeah,
mouth.
you eat it as an animal would eat another animal that was killed.
No, so you feed not unlike a hyena, or in some cases a jackal.
Whatever, whatever one is doing. Well, not it's not even doing the killing.
No.
It's of course, there are a lot of animals who don't kill, but they just kind of come along and feast on the other end of what the.
Female lion kills an impala, and here comes 20 hyenas, and now you've got your hands full.
Oh, that's an Oprah book club right there.
And rather than get your tail eaten off while you're trying to defend the dead impala, the lion will give up for the better part of value. But as the female lion leaves, she says, tomorrow I'm going to see one of you guys away from the pack. You'll
Yep.
see me coming, and that'll be the last thing you see. All right, you get the impala. I know where to get more, but I don't like the way you didn't ask. You just came
Right.
in and took it.
Many rules of the jungle have been written
Yeah.
on the back of a slow impala or a laughing hyena.
They don't laugh. When the lion's got him by the hindquarters, it's not time to laugh.
The laughing's over. Everything's over at that point.
Because you know what the rest of the hyenas do? They leave, and they'll come back and eat what's left of their brother.
Yeah, they're a little
They're opportunistic.
They'll eat anything.
That's another thing Clarence Thomas wants to do. He wants to go to the San Diego Zoo and see the hyenas. What am I going to do with it? He hasn't. He said he was going to leave, but the cash hasn't come through. You go to the cash store and it's been wired to you. It's not Western Union. It's some guy in Zanesville, Ohio. I don't know.
The cash store in Anaheim
should be Battle Creek, Michigan.
Yeah, the cash store in Anaheim is right down the block, right down Catella from Disneyland. Now, does Clarence want to go to Disneyland, or is he kind of in that?
No, he's more of a Palm Springs guy.
In that Ron DeSantis.
I don't know what Ron DeSantis is going to do. He's going to just keep opening his mouth and picking people that he doesn't like and saying that he doesn't care about them. He's got a long list of things he doesn't. I don't care about Hollywood. I don't care about corporations. I don't care about gays. I don't care about history books. I don't care about schooling. I don't care about this. The list is getting long. And if in fact he doesn't care about them, it's going to be very easy to come up with his plan for governance, his platform, because it's going to be, I get elected, and that I care about. What about the rest of it? I don't care about that.
I don't care. White guys with guns are going to be okay. Everybody else, run for the hills.
And speaking of white guys with guns, I have to give a standing ovation to the Ukraine army, who have chased the Russians out of that city that they were in. And the secret police and the headquarters of all the super fighters, their Green Beret guy from the Wagner group, is saying the Russians didn't send us any bullets. All the bodies you see here are their fault because they didn't give us what we needed. Not that they would have been able to use those bullets. Right now, they're a little short on initiative.
Well, it's what happens when you don't get paid.
Where's Putin?
Haven't seen him for a while. Something weird out there. The last time we saw Putin, he sent 2 guys up to the roof.
He says there's going to be the drone's coming in. I don't want anything to burn or catch fire. Get up there and stop. I just want the look of it. We're water
on the roof before the drone gets in.
Putin giving directions like a Hollywood director. Bring in the drone, something, a fire, an explosion. Something, a little something, a smarty answer, cut quickly to him, a reaction shot, then we're done.
And okay. We're done.
Lunch, let's take 5.
Oh my God.
He wanted a tighter shot. How come you had the 2 guys with the overalls there, right where I could see him in white overalls? I said I wanted a tighter shot.
Right. I didn't want the drone up here and those guys in this shot. I wanted the shot of them going up so it looked like we were defending something. Not guiding it in.
All right, we're gonna have to do it again. That was our last drone. Oh, you people! I can't work like this.
Is it hard to believe that the Russians seem so inept? They really do seem like
it can happen in one generation.
In the world.
They mixed Russian-style corruption throughout the ranks of the army. The supply chain was interrupted for 20 years. They didn't have their last major foray was Afghanistan. And if you recall, they got into their trucks and drove home. They never reordered after that. They never reorganized. They never retrained. They never kept their numbers high. They never kept their training efficient. They never kept their supplies ready to go. They thought that if they could drive into places like Georgia, their own territory, mess the people up and take control of the government, they could do it anywhere. It takes one day. You drive in, you push people around, you take the prime minister, you shoot him, and we got another guy. In fact, it's going to be Jimmy. Jimmy's the new head man in Georgia. They were
Yeah.
going to do the same thing in Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky, he's going to last one day. We're going to shoot him and his wife and their kids. Going to put, I'm sorry to say, we're going to use Jimmy again because he did such a good job in Ukraine. Bring in Jimmy to be the prime minister. The army will fall into line. They'll take orders from us. It's going to be beautiful. We'll seal the borders. And I'm off to the Crimea because it's sunny and I'm going down to my Dakar.
It's a nice day down there, so I'm going down to see my girlfriend, ride a horse with no shirt on.
But none of that happened. They're on the edge of total abject military defeat. And when they mounted this resurgence to take this one city and announce it to everybody that they were going to take it, that was it. In fact, the Ukrainian troops pulled back to retrain. This offensive that they are mounting is a result of pulling troops back from the front, retraining them, rearming them, giving them new equipment, giving them modern equipment, and sending them back in to go for the Russians who are starving. They can't serve lunch. And this has been a problem since the beginning of the invasion, Vinnie.
Yeah.
They can't keep the supply lines open. They can't feed their own troops.
They're basically the only way they were eating was to go into stores in the Ukraine, in the cities that they were taking over, and loot the stores.
We could go back and loot that store again. No, we burned it. Damn, we should have thought about tomorrow.
Thought about that.
Should have thought about that. Why didn't you think about that? Don't burn the store. We got to go back tomorrow and eat.
Because the average supermarket in Ukraine was better supplied than the Russian military.
They didn't have food. They didn't have gas. They didn't have ammunition. Now, there's 3 things that you might need if you're going to conquer the world.
I'm saying 2 out of 3 of them at least. If you don't, you can probably move without food. You can probably move without gasoline. You can walk, but combine any 2 of those things together, bullets. You could probably slap people to death.
Well, but then you've got that time in the morning when you have to say, guys, army, listen up. Today, breakfast has been canceled, but dinner was canceled. That's because we don't have any food. Now we're going to walk into Stinkyville. Oh, wait, we thought we were taking the trucks. Nope, the gas didn't come. So we're walking in, and although we don't have bullets, we're going to say that we do. When we get to the outskirts of town, we'll think of something. We'll have another meeting. And we'll decide who's going in to take this place because we have to take this town today without food, without water, without gasoline, and without ammunition. Well, I'll think of something.
You guys in the front line, you got some bullets, so you shoot first, and then we'll just point our guns. And but what they never counted on was the Ukrainians having all the bullets they needed and shooting back.
Do you have to go pew pew if you don't have guns? If you don't have a weapon, if you have a weapon but no bullets, do you have to make the sound?
Yeah, all of you that can do pew, 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 step up to the front.
To the front.
And then we have the media people who are here, and they're going to film you guys shooting. So try not to look at the camera when you're going pew, 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 because it doesn't look good. But we're not going to show this to anybody in Russia anyway. So
the feeling I get is that, though it could turn out to be a long war, I'm of the feeling that any day we could see a collapse here. A domino series of collapses militarily, headquarters in the Kremlin, Putin losing the support of the men who keep him powerful in return for keeping their own power. And what would happen if elements of the army turned on him? Because right now he's blaming everything on them. And the level of unpreparedness, unprofessional nature of the army seems. In fact, we're past the army. The guys he has in there now are conscription guys. The last 100,000 men he needed, they weren't in the army.
Right.
They were in the library studying to be a mortician.
Well, as any Christian lion-hearted man will tell you.
Can you name all 3 of the BG brothers?
Barry, Maurice, and Robin. And Andy was the one that took off with Barbara Streisand, right?
She worked him like a
Worked
gib.
to the
She
bone.
worked. She worked. He was exhausted, and
He was verklempt. He
he
didn't know
was
which
he
way to go.
was he was spent. And there's one correction I would make, although you're absolutely correct. 3 for 3 on the
I know
Gibb
it's
brothers.
Morris.
Thank you.
Yeah,
There you
but
go.
I'm not in Australia. I'm here in the United States.
Well, we don't. We would look at the word and say, "Well, that's Maurice," and
Right.
they call him Morris.
What they call him Morris. But when I grew up and I got off the LIE at Maurice Avenue, I didn't call it Morris Avenue.
No,
I
you'd be
called
off.
it Maurice Avenue.
You get off of the wrong stop if you want to go walk around town like that.
Right. LIE and Maurice, 1053 collision. Nobody said LIE and Morris because nobody knew what the hell you were talking about. My friend George Morris is Morris, not Maurice. So he's Maurice to me.
I got an announcement to make.
You're pregnant.
Nope, I am not.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, I am not. I can't prove that medically, but it's just a feeling I have.
Go with that.
But today is the Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May, and it is Kristen and my 39th anniversary.
Wow.
39, the number of Hugh McElhaney. Great running back for the 49ers. Yeah.
Congratulations.
So I looked it up. The 39th anniversary is the lace. You know how there's something for each anniversary? This one is lace. And if lace is inappropriate and doesn't work for you, filigree jewelry will fill in for it. So I don't know. Filigree jewelry, that opens up a whole can of.
What is filigree jewelry?
It's a jewelry, I guess, with a lot of filigree. I was going to ask King of England, Charles III, if he could give me any ideas about what to do with jewelry. But he's just taking his mother's and giving it to that horseface gal that he married.
Now, come on.
That's what he's doing. He's breaking up. He's breaking up that whole gang. He took her crown, took some of the stuff out of it, put it in Horsey's tiara. She's going to be the queen.
When the queen put the crown jewels on, that her head wouldn't support. They had to get her a neck brace or something.
It's heavy.
It's not as heavy as my crown jewels, but hey,
I think we should compare with someplace near the equator where the weight would be equal on both sides.
Can't believe I even said that, but
heavy makes you happy, as the Staple Singers.
Heavy makes you happy. Sha la 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 boom boom, yeah. You wanted me to name the Bee Gees. All right. I mean, can you name the Cornelius brothers?
I cannot. I know the Sister Rose was there.
Sister Rose.
How many Cornelius? Were there 2 Cornelius brothers? I think there were 3.
I have no idea. It could have been 2. It could have been 4.
Well, one was Biff. I remember
Biff
that
Cornelius, yes.
Biff Cornelius.
Biff Jiggerman Cornelius. Not many people do, but
Auguste Cornelius.
And then there was Henry Cornelius.
I think it was Toyota Cornelius was the last one.
And then there was the nerdy one, Copernicus Cornelius.
They hated him in the music business because he kept saying, "I'm telling you, these returns don't add up. We're selling records, and we're not telling you there's something fishy here."
Right. And there was some guy sitting behind a desk at, I don't know, pick a record company records. And he was saying, but Copernicus, it's too late to turn back now.
We're going to sign with Scepter Records and be the twins to Dionne Warwick. Oh no, Copernicus, that's your name on the contract. It's too late to turn back now.
You can't sign one contract when you signed a contract already. There's only one contract that we can have at a time. We can't have any of this. So
it frightens me to think that there were talented groups that were just lunging at the contract, didn't read it, couldn't read it, never had any legal advice.
They won by those famous words. You do it, or you do it.
I just want my uncle Louis, who's a divorce attorney, to look this over. We ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for Louis.
Back now.
Too late to turn back. And those are the three laws that we all stand by in the music business. You do it, you do it, you do it.
You do it, you do it, or you do it.
Will our names be on the jukebox? Yes, of
Yeah,
course. Your
kid, I'm
name will
gonna
be
have your name
there.
on every jukebox in Brooklyn, even when it turns into a hipster neighborhood. Over in the corner, you'll still be right there at B1.
We empty the machine, we count the change. It's a business we've been doing for a while. We know how to do this.
We know how this works, kid. It's too late to turn back now. Oh,
We're,
Michael. So are you going to get up and watch? Well, happy anniversary to you and Kristen. Let me finish that thought out.
thank you.
Happy anniversary to you guys.
I would put her on, but she's taking a cat nap. She likes to sleep through our show.
She's smart. Many other people like to sleep through our show.
They do. Our biggest fans get up, put us on, and fall fast asleep.
Remember that guy in Petaluma that used to turn on, who was it, Ray Taliaferro, to put his cows to sleep at night?
mm. Ray
Well,
had a lot to say, but not much in the way of interest to a Holstein.
right. Although he would fight for the rights of a Holstein. I mean, you got to give Ray a lot of credit for that. Ray would, he might have not had the Holstein's interests, but he had the Holstein's interests at heart.
And then when Wattenberg would come on, he'd say to the cows, "I know how your four stomachs work."
Let me
you don't.
explain to you how your four stomachs work.
This is going to take a while. This is going to take a while.
Then the crew, then the Bob crew, and then the Frankie Valley at the rear.
No Frankie Valley without Bob Crew. And Bob Crew was the one that got to count the money from the jukebox.
Bob Crew was but the problem was that they kept catching him in the other room with the kid that brought the money in, which was never a good thing.
Could not be helped. That was the cost of doing business.
That was okay. They were making somebody had to keep Chip DiCarlo going.
Had to be done. This was a business. It's not personal. This is business.
Yeah, right. This is a business. This is how we do it in Jersey.
Some of the Jersey has drifted to the West Coast. There's a report in the LA Times that the Los Angeles Police Department has a elite unit of SWAT members. It is the elite unit for response to anything. If there was a problem at LAX and they had to board a plane, this would be the elite unit of SWAT members that would do it. One of the sergeants of that unit has just retired and has given an exclusive interview to the Times in which he says the SWAT unit known as the elite SWAT is both corrupt and violent. And he's got the facts to prove it. It's been going on for a long time. And it is like a mini police force in its own right. It's similar to what we've reported here about the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, where they have 18 separate organized gangs within the deputies that are devoted to different pursuits,
right?
That have different interests than you might imagine a deputy to have. And so now we find the same thing in the heart of the most elite response unit of the LAPD. And you don't have to go back very far to understand that Los Angeles Police Department has a checkered reputation.
Yeah. I mean, LA Confidential, Chinatown. I mean,
and it goes on, and it's not just the 30s or the 40s or the 50s. It's not just the hippies in the 60s. It's not just the Rodney King of the 80s. It's one generation after another, and it gets more sophisticated as it proceeds. So it's like a gang within a police force within a special elite unit. And if these alleged organizations do exist within the police department, who's going to be the one to go in there and say, "You're out, we're starting all over again, we're going to clean house"? It never happens that way, not in the LAPD.
Well, I don't think it happens like that in many police departments because you still have the elements of corruption. I mean, the Knapp Commission in New York in the 70s exposed massive crime among police officers.
Because there's lots of cash and lots of cocaine
Lots of
around that
cash,
you could.
lots of coke, lots of dope, lots of hoes. I mean, it was, and yeah, it quieted down for a certain amount of time. But you know what? A couple of new classes from the academy
Yeah,
graduate, and a couple of older cops say to the younger ones, "Well, this is how you make this job work, because you're working for 27.5." And they expect you to bust through doors with a gun and shoot drug dealers who have Uzis. It's, and if you're going to do that, there's two things you're going to find: a lot of drugs and a lot of cash. And
we know what to do with both of those things.
you can put a drug dealer away with $5,000 just as much as you can put a drug dealer away with $75,000. So, who needs to know about all that cash? They're only going to burn it anyway.
Plus, you did a good job. You did a good job, kid, busting in and taking their money. But what you haven't done yet is to pay your dues to the rest of the organization.
Right. And you find out that there are certain members of these groups, which are sworn to protect and serve, who get corrupted by the money. Maybe they didn't start out that way. Maybe they didn't go to the academy saying this is a great way to make $100,000 in cash a year. But when the system allows you to do that, when the system looks the other way, when the people who are higher up on the chain look down the chain and say, well, this is how it works.
The dangerous point of that happens as when what you say is true takes place. Pick a city, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if it's Cincinnati or Toronto.
Yeah.
You've got to the point where that's the attitude of the guys who have to do the hard work, who have to kick in the door. There's the cash, there's the dope. Wait a minute. Before we get crazy and just turn all this stuff in, let's give this a thought. And it's that change in life that stops you from becoming a cop in the purest terms. So the criminals, when they see you coming, they don't see a cop. They see themselves. They see just an opportunist with a gun and the city behind him. But that's about it. They say, you guys used to be on the straight and narrow, but you ain't that way anymore. So what do you think you're better than us? Next time you come calling, come correct, because we're going to play rough with cops from now on. And I think you bring that on yourself by your actions.
They lose respect for the police department. They lose respect because they realize that there's a certain element of those police officers, whoever they may be, that are not really cops. They're there to create, to run a business.
They're part of the force.
You're there to run a business. They got a business. You got a business. Your business has the same interest. Really, when you think about it, it's that kid on the corner coming up for his $15 bag every day, and you want him to keep doing that. The cops want him to keep doing that because that's how they're affording the house in Long Island on the 27.5 a year that they're making.
Just remember, everybody's habit is contingent on you being kind to the cops and the cops being kind in return. We have to have an agreement here. You don't want us to just shoot it up, do you? You don't want us to come back in a half an hour and just take all your stuff and shut down your business and be done with it. That's no way to make money. That's not being enterprising.
No, that goes against the free enterprise system.
Let's give this some thought before we shoot everything up.
And then what happens is, if you are one of the people one of the officers that say, well, you know what, I don't want to play that game. I'm here to protect my community. I'm here to, there's so many other guys that are on the pad, and women, let's not pretend that women don't, indulge too. That if you are somebody who doesn't go along, next thing you know, you're out on Highland Boulevard protecting a bunch of trees in Staten Island.
Or you could wake up dead.
Or if it's enough money and enough people, You know, it always. There was this, I forget the guy's name, was it Cavatapi or something? I forget. But there was two cops about 20 years ago that got arrested for doing a hit for a mob gang.
Yes, I remember that.
And the way they got convicted
And
is
they were detectives with gold stars, right?
right. They were started. They were high ranking detectives, and the one guy wrote a book, and he wrote the book, and the daughter of the guy he killed recognized him from the book
Oh God.
and went to the Internal Affairs Division and said, "This is the guy that whacked my father. I was
Yeah,
standing when he did it."
we knew that. We were following him. We were
Yeah,
ready to move
I
in.
think it was Louis I forget the guy's name. Anyway, um, and so sure enough, they got enough people together. There was enough rats by this time because, in that time that this had all gone on, ratting somebody out had become not only stylish but fashionable. We had this code of silence for years and years and years. Now all of a sudden, people are going to internal affairs saying, "Hey, this Italian guy down the block from me has 35 parking tickets," because they're smelling blood in the water.
He can talk.
And so the
But
guy, the guy gets convicted. Him and his partner
wow,
get
that's right.
convicted, and it all comes out, and the respect that you lose for police officers when that happens in a city
It's
or in a
total.
neighborhood, because you always think that when you pick up the phone and you call the cops, A, they're going to come, and B, if you're nice to them and you don't start screaming, you're going to get a fair shake. But what becomes painfully obvious after you see something like this is you're not going to get a fair shake. The cops are not going to be impartial. Maybe they're not even going to come if, or if you show up and they know that guy and they don't know you, they're going to side with that guy and you could wind up in jail.
And that shooting in Texas, in Cleveland, Texas, the police were called 5 times, but they were told this guy's shooting automatic weapons in the backyard, and they're going, "Look, it's Friday night. Do we want to go and take a guy on a guy with an Uzi or an AK-47? I'm really not in the mood." And hello, yeah, we're coming. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. I don't want to. Hello, yes, we said we're coming. Oh, everyone's dead. Yeah, now we are coming.
Yeah, now we're coming because, I mean, how could you, between Uvalde last year and now this incident that's happened this year, how do you respect a Texas police officer if you live in one of those places?
You don't know what you're going to get. What are you going to get with these guys? It could be anything on the spectrum of response, including we don't give a damn. We're not coming. And when we do get there, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah, how do you? So you have that. The corruption not only hurts because everybody says, "Well, what difference is it if a cop takes 50 because he told this guy to go with that tow truck instead of and said, we're not going to lock you up for being drunk. Just get in that tow truck and go with that guy, and sign the thing that he gives you to repair your car." And everything will be okay.
He'll take you
And
home.
cop gets his 50 or his 100 for doing that. And but that same guy who you let go a year later gets back in his car because he kind of knows that the cops are, not going to, mess with him if he gets caught. And what happens? He, broadsides some family coming home from Boy Scouts on Friday night and kills him.
What a
Or
terrible topic for a Freaky Friday.
yeah, but it's so the breakdown of respect for law, um, starts to permeate into every part of society, and add to it a president who had no respect for the law, who has no respect for absolutely no respect for the law.
Well, I think there's another name I'd like to put on that list because Clarence Thomas and his wife have been staying with us for a couple of days. He wants to go into Hollywood to see the Grauman's Chinese Kitchen, Chinese theater, and then we're going to get Chinese to go.
They
But
used to have a good Chinese kitchen there, but they closed it in 41.
he's a goer. He's not as interested in the law as you might think. He's more interested in the game of life, and
He,
he's playing it to the hilt.
yeah, I mean, that's it. When you get, so now you have a Supreme Court that is, even if it isn't corrupt, even if there's not direct cash payments going to people, still has the question of unfairness. You have
Well,
a Congress that we know is corrupt. They don't give a shit so bad that they just do it right out in front of everybody. I'm surprised that there's not a little spot on the Capitol steps where they show up and just hand envelopes out on Friday.
Jim Jordan said that they're going to start doing that. Just they bring the money to your desk. That's why it's good for voting. You get everybody at their desk, get everybody in on Friday. Everybody sits at their little desk, and the money comes around in an envelope, so you don't really see it. We're not animals. We do pay in the envelope.
Yeah. The rules are different if you have the means to buy the influence, whether it be the $5 that you give the cop for a cup of coffee or the 50,000 that you give a congressman, you can buy influence. This is why there's the Citizens United decision several years ago was so bad, because it takes away the trust you have in the government to do the right thing. Does anybody this morning, now that this has all come out, do the other 8 justices on the Supreme Court feel like they're being trusted by the people? No, it's ruined. It's ruined because if obviously if Clarence Thomas is going to do it, what's to make you think that any of the other ones aren't going to do it?
But Clarence Thomas gets the vacations. He gets the house paid for where his mother's
Well,
living.
we
He
know
gets
that he gets it. What about the other people? I mean, you don't think they're not getting something?
and he get his son tuition paid at a private school. These are not little things. These are not tiny items. That was a gift on somebody sent him a bow tie on his birthday. It ain't that. It's something far more insidious. And you raised the best question, Vinny. If he's in this deep, and if we're finding new revelations weekly about what Jenny Thomas and Clarence Thomas have been doing with their legal careers, then who's to say that Samuel Alito hasn't got a couple kids in private schools being paid by somebody else, and that he's been on the take this whole time, and that
Yeah,
his valuable votes were all bought and paid for before he ever sat down, before he ever
right.
put on the all important robe.
Or Kagan or any of them, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, it doesn't matter. When you get into that environment, your things change. You look at things differently because you have the ability to take advantage of things that other people don't have the ability to take advantage of. You may be the most honest person in the world, but if you have the opportunity to partake of some of this largesse that's been foisted upon the Supreme Court, uh, chances are you start to say, well, a little's not going to hurt. I'm not
It
going to
couldn't
take
hurt.
something from a decision I'm involved in. But if this guy wants to send me to Okefenokee for a little vacation among the alligators, who am
Or
I to
an,
say no?
it's an alligator hunt, Vinny, is what it is,
Thank
and you need bait. And Jenny Thomas doesn't know about that yet.
you. She looks like she is bait. I
That's
mean,
what I'm
what?
saying.
Uh,
Well, Clarence Thomas, we have to take him up to Ojai tomorrow afternoon because he wants to take mushrooms with the hipsters. And
Is
it's
that where
a
the hipsters are in Ojai?
there's some hipsters in Ojai, but it's not a hipster place where everybody can drive in. You have to be sort of part of the neighborhood. You have to be comfortable in certain surroundings. You have to
Well,
be part of it.
one of my heartthrobs lives up there. So if you go up there with Clarence, please stop by Jan Smithers' house and say hello, Jan, for me.
I know Jan Smithers. I
Yeah,
know of whom you speak.
you know Bailey Quarters on
Bailey Court.
WKRP in Cincinnati has always been one of my crushes, and so if you and she's up there, and I'm sure she'd be happy to host you, Michael and Clarence and the families, and say, listen, stop by, come by. Here's a little souvenir. There's a great place you can buy T-shirts over there. Um, come by and hang out. I think she maybe even teaches a yoga class on Saturday morning or something.
I could get Clarence a T-shirt and get Jenny a muumuu.
You could get Clarence a T-shirt that says "I yogaed with Bailey Quarters."
Yeah, I like that. I like that very much. Well, I hope it's high enough on the social ladder for Clarence because I won't say he's a snob. He's just particular about who he hangs with, and he doesn't. It's not the conservative liberal thing. It's more about what's your guest house look like.
Well, I'm surprised, Mikey, that he even took the trip, being at the writers to W. Or I'm actually surprised that he didn't order the WGA people to go back to work so he could watch a couple of TV shows being filmed while he
Actually,
was out there.
the more Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel there is, the worse it is for Clarence. So he's as they say, he's Jake with this particular strike because it's keeping his name out of the news.
Yeah, that's true. He's probably the happiest guy in the world if these guys are on
And
strike.
speaking of
Otherwise,
news, CNN and MSNBC and Fox and everybody else still has writers. They still have news writers.
right? News writers are not
They
on
mu-
strike.
they must be members of a different union. What's the union for news
I
writers in
think
New
they're
York?
Astra.
Well, after won't cross the line of after out here
But they
won't
work
cross.
for different it's a different division. It's I mean, I'm pretty sure well, I don't know about writers. Writers, might be different. There might be a different association, but
Because out
the
here,
last they had, they were fighting
SAG
for us.
after is honoring the picket line
Yeah, I think
as
all the unions are. I think all the
yeah.
craft unions are honoring it. Um, I mean, I'm certainly if Francis Ford Coppola decides he wants to do Godfather 4 and start it on Monday and calls and says, Vinny, be down there. I'm sorry, I got to tell you, Francis, I can't do it. I got to honor the picket line.
I can't scab, and neither should you, Francis, if you ever want to work in this town again. And maybe he
Yeah.
doesn't.
Well, yeah, Francis is a guy that you could say that to, and he'd say, "Yeah, well, that's exactly the point."
That's exactly what I was going to say to you. I'll never work in this town again. Thank you very much.
If it wasn't for my sister, I wouldn't give a hoot about anything, but I want to make sure she's working.
Is
So,
that his sister or is that his daughter?
his sister Talia, and I guess his daughter too, right, Sophia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a family business for them.
And each of them has been told in turn that they will never work in that town again.
Yeah, and everybody's been wrong about them because they've turned out to be. Talia was a better than average actress, even though she did play kind of the same role all the time. Well, no, I guess Connie Corleone and Adrian. What was Adrian's last name before she got married to Rob? Before she was Adrian Balboa, what was her maiden name?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the Adrian. I was thinking of the Adrian in The Sopranos too, or Atrian as they called her.
Well, she's Adrienne.
Adrienne,
Who unfortunately met a.
She's out in the woods.
She went out. She learned one thing you never do if you go to a Bruce Springsteen show, and that is go into the woods with little Steven.
No, do not do that. And he's going to let her drive. Yeah, it's just up here.
Yeah, just go up a little bit. Once somebody tells you go up a little bit more, your best play is to hit the gas and roll out of the car as quickly as
Yeah,
possible.
man, oh
That's your
man.
only hope is that you hit the gas and you shock the person so much that's in the other seat that they hit a tree and the car explodes. That's your only play there. So don't worry if you break your arm.
Did you see any basketball last night?
I did not. What happened?
It was a wondrous Warriors by 27 points. And I know that because it was 127 to 100, and the Lakers were lucky to have that. They got flummoxed, they got angry, they chipping at themselves, yelling at the referees, showing all the signs of immaturity.
Collapse, classic collapse.
They didn't know. Well, it was hurting. The Thomas was throwing down threes like they were candy.
Did Clarence not want to go to a game?
He's not into sports so much. He just doesn't care. He puts down the grand every once in a while on Alabama. But as for he has a hard time in public. You give him important seats and he sits down. Can you see Clarence and Jenny on ringside, courtside, I should say, at the NBA, watching Miami and the Knicks play? That's not a good look.
Yeah. I can't say as I do. No, I don't see them. Yeah, I don't see them doing a whole lot of anything. So
he's a guy who wants to go to the Grecian Isles. He talks about it all the time. Let's go to the Isles. We'll cruise. The water's warm. I know a guy over there named Giorgio.
the interesting thing with the NBA playoffs is that the team that I don't know if many people, I would say nobody expected them to, but certainly the Denver Nuggets,
They've been picked at the top of the league for the whole year.
yeah, have just really just gone through so far like a hot knife through. I mean, do they? Is there anybody that doesn't think that they're going to win this whole thing?
Well,
Except for maybe the Warriors.
Well, Boston can't beat them. Miami can't beat them. The Lakers can't beat them. I think the Warriors can beat them 7 games if the Nuggets are playing the way they continue to play. The one thing the Nuggets, I should say, the one thing the Warriors have in terms of advantage over the Nuggets is the Nuggets are a young team. They're not an experienced playoff team. They've got tons of talent. They have tons of ability. But strange things happen to you when you get into this series play. And the other team adjusts to you and you can't figure out a way out of it. It becomes a knot around your neck and it stops scoring and it stops, especially a team that if it wants to beat the Warriors has to beat them in speedy transition, has to get the rebounds, has to make all their free throws, has to achieve excellence in all those cases, or they haven't got a chance. Or you won't even have the ball.
They're eerily reminiscent, and I haven't watched them enough to make this as a broad statement. But do the Nuggets remind you a little bit of the Sonics, the 93, 94 Sonics?
Only because, well, not really, because they have a classic big man, and the Sonics never did have one.
They had that three, that rotating.
And it plagued them. If you don't have a big man that you can put down there, the Warriors have one. He's a 7-footer, and hardly anyone gives him any credit for anything. They're figuring out how Kevon Looney is keeping this team together.
Yeah.
The Lakers have a big man. They can put a couple 7-footers out there. Plus, they've got LeBron to play on the perimeter or inside, as the case may be. He can play as a big man.
Right. It gives them LeBron gives them a player that you have to account for every second he's on the court. I mean,
and last night, who guarded him was Curry, slightly smaller than LeBron, but
skilled.
But
skilled.
Skilled. He's got stilts and he's skilled.
He's skilled.
So the Sonics had that problem plague them over and over again, and every year was the same. We didn't get a big man. We needed a traditional 7-footer who could play tough, who could score, and who could dish the ball. And that's a lot to ask for, but we never got one, and that prevented us from advancing, I think.
Yeah, I think in a lot. Yeah, I think you're right in a lot of ways. I mean, I think you had the 3-man center thing, the 3-headed center that George tried to use never worked out 100%. And the year it did actually work, they ran into a buzzsaw by the name of Dennis Rodman.
Well, the funny thing is, if you don't have a big man, or you don't have a point guard, or you don't have a power forward, if there's a hole in your lineup, and the other team does, well, right away, what are you going to do about it? You don't have a vote. Now you're shorthanded, and the game hasn't begun. So
Right.
keeping that guy out of foul trouble, keeping him in the game is something that the other team's got to do. Rest him and use him wisely, because you don't have anything to go up against him. You haven't got a weapon that will deal with it. And so one of the problems with the Lakers is they get quiet from time to time.
Right.
And that's just not allowed. When the Warriors are playing their speedy best, the score is happening quickly and constantly in transition. Just is.
If you could hand me a Knicks Warriors
playoff
final,
yeah.
I think I'd be okay with that. I mean, I'd be okay with almost anything that comes along here, because, I mean, I rooted for the Warriors for years. I rooted for the Knicks for years. But that would pit two of my favorite teams against each other. And I just think that that would be an interesting finals to watch.
Well, next game is Saturday, tomorrow, here in LA. Warriors are coming south, and they play well on the road. Now, this season, that was not the case. During the regular season, they had a hellish time on the road. They could win at home. They won a lot at home, but they just, for some reason, and it can't, it's just kismet. It's just a question that can't be answered. Why did they stink on the road? And now they've proven against Sacramento, and now they have to prove it against LA that they can play and win on the road. So I hope that we're past that. I hope we're over that hurdle and put all that nonsense behind us, because in playoff time, playoff mode, as the NBA is promoting it, when you're in that playoff mode, you have to win on the road if you want to be a champion. And you have to win on the road like it doesn't even matter that you're on the road. The crowd hates you. That's good. That's a furnace for your desires. Off you go. You'll be fine. And if that's the case, maybe Clarence and Jenny will go down and see a game in LA, sit in the super box.
I think that you should send them down there to the what is it, the Staples Center? Do they still call it that?
Yep. We're 20 minutes from down. Actually, it's not the Staples Center anymore, but they call it that because I think it still says that on the roof. I don't know what it is, but
it's not so bad when they changed the names of these places.
Changed the name so fast we couldn't change the roof. Anyway,
pretty amazing. I'm excited. The Houston assholes are in town, so I'm not all excited about them, but I am.
We beat them 2 out of 3.
Yeah, there is a team I am getting a little excited about, Michael, and I got to admit that
the Mets.
I'm always excited about the Mets, and they're hosting Colorado, so not so much excitement there.
White Sox.
But hey, what about those Pittsburgh Pirates, pal?
I'm sorry, the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm not familiar with that name.
Yeah, the Buccos. The Buccos have a conglomeration of players that have come from other places, along with young talent.
They showed up with an attitude.
And showed up, and they got the right attitude in bringing back McCutchen. to stir the string there, stir the straw there a little bit, and all of a sudden they're on top of the National League Central, 20-12, and playing some exciting baseball, some
Are they
fun baseball to watch.
are they responding in Pittsburgh?
They always respond in Pittsburgh. I mean, right now it's let's see what happens. It'll be like that until the All-Star game. But I think that people that are Pirate fans will take any win they can get, any time they can get it. So while there's not, I don't think there doesn't seem to be this. Um, oh my God, it's this. Look at this. The city is enamored. Uh, you're seeing less negative talk about the Pirates,
There you go.
and that gives you something. So now they got I guess they're playing Toronto, and at home, and and I'm kind of. I mean, I always root for the Pirates. I like the Pirates. I love the people that work there. Great bunch of people, front office people. The PR people are extraordinary, and they really do a nice job. It's probably the best value for a ticket you get in Major League Baseball. I mean, I think you can still buy $10 tickets for the Pirates.
Can you order out from Boog Powell's? Does Boog Powell deliver to Pittsburgh?
No, but they have Manny Sanguian, so they don't need Boog Powell.
Okay, I'll try Manny.
And Manny sits out at his barbecue place. I met him several times. You can go and you can talk to Manny.
Does he sit or does he squat?
He sits.
He
No, he
sits.
sits. Yeah, he sits. No, Manny sits. He doesn't. He's got a chair and some gold chains and a jersey, and he just sits out there. But you go to Manny Sanguian's barbecue, and he dishes out the barbecue.
What would you get there? What's on the menu?
I've gotten. I think I've gotten a tri-tip a bunch of times,
Mm-hmm.
which was actually quite delicious. We had our studio when I worked at the ballpark doing the pregame and the postgame. Our studio was on the other side of the left field bleachers. Manny's is kind of under the bleachers in the back, and our studio was up a level and under like the second set of bleachers that go up.
Did you have a view of the field?
So we could, we didn't have the greatest view of the field, but it was good enough. I mean, it was in the ballpark. You couldn't see anything hit to right field. You would have trouble seeing right field.
You were in left field.
Yeah, because we're in left field, and you just couldn't. The view was blocked, but you could see enough. I mean, I didn't want to sit there during a game, to be honest with you, but we had TV so you could watch it, and you could just go down. There was a little back stairway, and the back stairway just ended up right at Manny's barbecue.
Whoa, Manny!
So you could have Manny actually come up and bring some barbecue. Say, hey, Manny, man, we want to put you on the radio for a couple of minutes. So Manny would load up a bag. Come on upstairs, man, and lay out the barbecue and the orange soda.
Who's your guest? This is Clarence Thomas. This is his wife, Jenny. They came by. They heard about your stuff. They traveled quickly here. They paid cash. Somebody did. They didn't.
Somebody paid cash. We don't know who, but somebody paid.
And they're here to say hello. And they want a nosh, and then they're gone. They got stuff to do.
So Manny, I mean, so Manny had the system down. He knew what the system was. So we had Manny as a frequent guest and the chef from Atria's, who invented something called pot roast nachos.
Well, okay. I never want to stand in the way of someone who wants to make a nacho. Let the man make his nacho. We'll figure it out later.
And make it with pot roast.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Don't be quiet.
Too. I mean, you could stay well fed at the ballpark. Oddly, they do have. They did have. I mean, I don't know about now because vendors and stuff change, but they really did have some of the best food options. They had an Italian sausage sandwich, man. It was off the charts.
What about Primatis? Did they
They had
have
a
a?
Primanti's in the ballpark, but it wasn't the same as going to Primanti's. It was different. It was kind of almost pre put together,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know. And if you wanted a Primanti's, you were better off.
going to the
I always
headquarters.
thought just going to Primanti's after the game, or going to Primanti's, buying a sandwich and stick it in your bag. Cold, the sandwich that you got at Primanti's tasted better than I thought than the one that they were making there.
And it'll take you 7 innings to eat it, so you're going to be in good hands.
Yeah, great garlic fries at the ballpark that they had there, and they had a health hut, and the health hut was actually had fairly decent options. I mean, you could get like a roast turkey sandwich
Wow.
on whole grain bread
Did they
that
have
was
the
actually
turkey
carved right
carved
there
off of, yes, off a real turkey?
off an actual turkey, or at least they made it look like a real turkey.
I'm
And they
convinced.
had, the meatless hot dogs and that kind of stuff too,
Impossible burgers.
and low fat hot dogs, and which was always odd to me because Pittsburgh is probably the city that gives a crap about health food the least out of any place I've ever lived.
And it's funny because it's such a medical center now. There's
Yeah,
two sides to the story.
yeah, they just don't. It's just eating healthy is not a top of mind awareness there.
It's not for yins.
Yeah, it's not for Jens, but yet the ballpark had maybe the best health food options that I'd seen at any ballpark.
Wow.
Yeah, it was strange. Because remember when they opened up the health hut at Candlestick?
I'm sure they have.
They did. I remember when they opened it up. I was on a diet when they did, and the food was horrible. The only thing that they had there that was worth buying was they had you could get a all natural peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you could get a fruit cup.
Whoa.
But that
Well,
was it. All the
I'm
other stuff
surprised.
was
San Francisco, like Seattle, like New York, is known as a cuisine capital.
yeah.
It's
Not at
it's
not at the health hut. It wasn't.
well, that just doesn't make any sense. What are they? Who's making these decisions? Does George Stevens still calling the shots?
That was Harry M. Stevens, and I believe at that point that he was still calling the shots. I don't think they had gone over to. I think they eventually went over to Canteen, didn't they?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think because I know Canteen was over at the Oakland Coliseum, which, but then I think Canteen also got the deal for Candlestick as well. I remember one day going to Candlestick and not seeing one of those brown beer cups
Huh.
that said Harry M. Stevens on the side. Poor
And
guy.
they fill them the night before with draft beer, and it's so flat when they sell it to you for $18 that you think that it never had any poop in it at all, never had
Well,
bubbles.
they advertised that. That's like they advertised that as how did they advertise that as a first date beer? If you
Well,
wanted to drink a beer on your first date, it would guarantee that you wouldn't get any gas in your stomach. you would have to worry about that embarrassing moment on that first date where you go,
well, because there was very little beer in the beer. What's in there besides beer? You like water? You got to have water. The planet's 80% water. You got to have water.
at $18 a beer, there was probably very little first date beer buying either. I mean, if I'm buying you a beer at $18, babe, I better know you a little bit.
Better than I do.
better than I do right now from just an ad in the Bay Guardian. Uh,
I think
remember
Clarence Thomas should advertise. I'm going to tell him this when he gets out of the shower. I'm going to say, Advertise. Spend the weekend with Clarence Thomas. Take him with you as your guest. Go to the Adirondacks. Go to Miami. Go to Bimini. Go somewhere for the weekend, and
Send them up here.
take Clarence and take Jenny with you, and yeah, they could go see the Snoqualmie Falls, catch a salmon downtown, go to a nice restaurant in Belltown, put him up in the hotel, and remember the rule with Justice Thomas and Jenny: the bill is on you.
Mikey, with all the stuff that Clarence Thomas gets, though, all of the stuff that he gets,
All the extras.
all the extras, I'll bet you $100 that unlike you and I and the experience that we've had in our lives, he doesn't get a new car every Tuesday.
That's kind of nice. What are you going to get on Tuesday? Do you know?
Actually, I got it yesterday. The day is Thursday currently, and I am driving a Mustang Mach E, um, E all-wheel drive, EAWD, an Audi. An Audi. It's a 2023 premium EAWD. It is.
It's like an Arabian guitar, isn't it? The Audi.
Yeah. Yaud. They've made some actual little improvements to this car that are quite cool, actually. I mean, they've done, it has more distance. The range on this thing is like almost 300 miles, which, I think is about what you need for about what you're gonna do okay with a electric car. I mean, 290 miles is going to get you pretty much anywhere you want to go and back again.
Did you read Steve Wozniak's comments about Tesla yesterday?
No. What did Steve have to say?
Well, he's a Tesla owner. He said he bought the car because Elon Musk, who now he doesn't believe ever has told the truth, made claims about his car, how it could drive coast to coast in 2017 with no assistance from the passengers. It would just be self-autonomous. Get in the car in LA, drive to New York. You never have to touch the steering wheel. He said it was a lie. It was an overstatement of their ability to deliver their technology, that everything that Elon Musk has said about that car, he assumes is a lie. He said that, believe me, it's never going to work. And the future claims of what Tesla's supposed to be are never going to come to fruition. And he said that in the future, he will believe nothing that Elon Musk has to say or any of the claims regarding any of his products.
Well, I don't know why many people would trust Elon. I mean, some of the stuff he says is wacky, but the other thing is he has delivered on some of the stuff that he has talked about. I mean, he has put things into space. He has delivered an attainable electric car. It may not be autonomous driving like everybody thought, but his electric car network, he not only delivered the car, but he delivered the means to power the car.
You cannot believe how many Teslas there are in LA.
Oh,
you cannot believe it. They are everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many. I mean, I really think there should be, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, Michael, they ought to figure out a damn way to come up with some different colors for those cars, because they're all like 4 colors:
red, blue, black, and white.
Yeah, I mean, give me something different,
I saw somebody with a custom job. It was hot pink, and it was not a good look.
Yeah, I saw somebody with one that was army green with
yes,
yellow accents.
Camo.
And while it wasn't a good look, I didn't think it looked like a combination of an Air Force base gate and a rocket ship. I mean, it was different, and with the Tesla, but as much as you want to say that, and I'm not a Musk fan at all. I think he's a little wacky, to be honest with you, but he has delivered on what he has said. He's done the space thing, he's done the car thing, he's done the satellite internet thing. I mean, his satellite internet company provides satellite. They wouldn't be fighting a war
Ukraine.
in Slovakia. No, the other war, the one we don't talk about. Uh, but Ukraine is his company, Stargazer, there, whatever it is, Stargate, whatever they call it, is a key factor in that war. It allowed the Ukrainians to have better communications than the Russians did.
Clarence and Jenny want to go to Slovakia, and I said, "Let's just go to the beach."
Oh
You
no!
don't want.
Let's
You
take
don't
'em.
want to. You don't want to. You want to go?
Oh,
I,
I think we should take them.
should we land
I
in Burr?
think that we. Oh,
Where's it? How can you get a direct flight for Slovakia? I don't
you
even
don't,
know.
you
Oh,
can't.
you don't.
Yeah,
No.
no, they haven't.
So
As a matter of fact,
does it land in Dusseldorf, and then what? What?
I think you go Dusseldorf well, you go Dusseldorf. Well, you go Dusseldorf to Moscow, but I don't know how that's working these days.
I wouldn't. I'd stay off the Moscow leg of the
Yeah,
trip if I were
yeah,
you.
yeah. You probably got to go Dusseldorf to Warsaw, Warsaw back to Dusseldorf because it's
You
Poland.
left your bags. You left your stuff.
Yeah, then you have to drive from Dusseldorf to Hamburg.
So wait, you fly to Warsaw, you come back, and then you drive to Hamburg.
Drive
We're
to
still not in
Hamburg.
Slovakia. I noticed that we're not in Slovakia with anywhere
Oh,
near
we're a long way
Slovakia.
from Slovakia. Then in Hamburg, you fly to Gdansk,
Back to Poland.
back to Poland. From Gdansk, you have to go to the Slovakian airline. Air,
Yeah, I've heard of them, but
yeah, air,
couldn't we just take a train? Can't we get on a train instead of
and
flying?
you have to recite. You have to go back then to Hamburg
Oh Jesus!
and recite 3 times. Your trouser cuffs are dirty. Your hair is way too long. You'd better go back to Hamburg because your overcoat is too long, or something along those lines.
Well, I don't think I want to do that. I
Well,
don't think.
what's a little crimp in their tourist business?
Well, they wanted to
Uh,
go for the weekend. It's going to take longer than that to get there. I can
well,
see
yeah,
this.
if you go for the weekend, it takes you 4 days to get there.
Plus, if we're leaving Hamburg in a rented car and Jenny wants to drive to Slovakia, what am I supposed to say? What am I going to
Well,
do?
no, but they don't. You see, the problem is the Thomases don't use a rental car. They call up a Republican donor
And he
and
sends a
they
town
say,
car.
we need a car. And, Bill Ford or Louis Chevrolet or Wally Chrysler
How
or
is Wally? Wally Chrysler, what a great guy. How is he?
he was a good guy. He's dead.
Oh,
Um, or the Agnelli family, who
what are
runs
they?
Fiat,
Ah,
respond and get him a car over there.
we're looking for a little bit larger car. Getting both Clarence and Jenny in the back seat of like an Alfa Romeo, it doesn't look like a good fit.
I'm thinking you want an Opel truck.
Oh, made by General Motors.
Used to be. Now it's are they part of? I think they're part of Stellantis now.
Mm.
Or you can get them a Renault.
Well, if it's a stretch Renault, I mean,
No guarantee that the Renault is going to get you there because if there's even one car that was less reliable than a Fiat, It was a Renault.
So it could start, but not necessarily will start.
The car has a mind of its own. It's AI at its best.
That was
So
another thing Wozniak commented on, that AI left in the hands of people like Elon Musk is a tragedy just waiting to happen. But didn't Leon have to pay? Didn't Leon have to make a payment on his the money he owes to the people who helped him buy Twitter?
I don't know. I'm so withdrawn from Twitter, both being on it and really much caring about what goes on there.
Do you feel free?
I just feel unencumbered. Like I used to pick up my phone 9 times a day and look at Twitter, who's saying what, and I've gotten to the point where I just really don't care.
You know that it's high noon on our Freaky Friday. We've been
Yeah,
on the air. We've been here a while.
we've been on an hour and 45 minutes. We've definitely earned our pay today.
It's a Freaky Friday, made all the more freaky by the fact it's almost Saturday.
Yeah, well, we're going to be. This is actually our coronation pre.
Yeah, it's a coronation pre-show.
So should we get up at 5:00 in the morning and do the coronation, Mikey?
2:00. It's 2:00 West Coast time.
Oh,
2
it's 2
a.m.
o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll just be going to bed.
No point going to bed.
We could do a drive time, a special drive time edition of the coronation of the coronation. We'll call it Coronation Street.
I'm pretty sure Clarence and Jenny have some blow. We'll stay up late. We'll get to the 2:00, and they can go into Hollywood, go to the vampire room because they like to mix. They like to mix with the intelligentsia, and they can get cocktails late at night at the Bel Air Hotel and come back home just as we're wrapping up Charles's big day.
It's funny. I'm strangely interested. If I mean, I will be up. Well, I don't know if I'll be up at 2, but I'll probably get up at 3 because I usually get up at 4 on Saturday morning anyway to get the show.
Get your show together.
Get the show rolling and stuff like that. I have a bunch of stuff ready to go. I do have to run out and film something real quick. But other than that, I'm pretty much ready to fly. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get up an hour early and watch the. The problem is those things get so slow.
There's a magic rock underneath the throne. I want to get a good look at that.
Is there?
Yeah, it's the Stone of Scone.
What flavor?
It's a little gritty, more than a taste. It's more of a something a bird who keeps gravel in his craw would enjoy. So it's not to be ate; it's to be enjoyed in terms of its influence over the event. And every English king for the last 1,000 years, English monarch, I should say, has sat in that throne, that ancient wooden throne, beginning with Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen. And there's a rock about, where's my hands? This big, that thick. Maybe it weighs 30 pounds, or in this case, 30 stone. It's underneath the chair, sits there underneath the throne. And the throne, because it's so old, is made entirely of wood. And it's a little throne, as if the kings and queens in those days were little tiny people.
Does it give you yeah, I'm thinking, Mikey, it's a really small throne.
Yep. Very small.
And it's not Charles a rather big guy?
He's not 6 foot. He's 5'10".
Do they alter the chair for him?
No, nobody makes him move on that chair. You got to fit into it. Like that's one reason Jenny Thomas will never be Queen of England.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking Camilla looks. I mean, she looks a little hefty.
Who did you say?
She looks a little. I mean, you might have to grease her thighs to get her in that chair. But does she get to sit in the chair?
No. And someone else is going to have to grease her thighs because I am out on that. I said I would do it. I changed my mind. I'm not doing it.
Well, I got a little brick of Irish butter here. Can you use Irish butter to grease the Queen of England's? Now, does she? I mean, I know she's the queen because she's married to him, and I guess that's the queen consort.
Yes.
But does she? She doesn't have, like, if he drops dead tomorrow after the ceremony. Does she?
His son, no.
She
His
doesn't.
son,
She's gone, right?
his son, the eldest son, takes the job.
Suppose both of them drop dead. Does Harry get it then?
Yes.
I thought he took himself out of the lineage thing.
He can't take himself out of the line. He's by birth, he's number 2. He's the spare, as his book will say. That's the title of his book. That's what it means.
The spare?
Yeah, the spare. That's what they call him.
Is he a full-size spare, or is he?
He's a full-size spare. He just doesn't have. He just hasn't been vetted. You remember King? King Henry VIII was not supposed to be king. His father was king. Right. His older brother was inheriting the spot, but died. And so they got Henry out of the seminary. He had been studying to be a priest and said, well, surprise, surprise, you're not going to be a priest. You're not going to be a bishop. You're not going to be a cardinal. You're going to be the king. So get used to it. Well, he did, as you know. He got very used to it. But it was his knowledge of the church that said, I'm not caving into these bastards. I'll start my own church. I know how this works. I know the game. I know the rules. I know what they believe, and I know what they say. Yeah. Anybody can be a church. We're going to call it the Church of England, and I'm going to be in charge of it. They said, but
I went to school for this.
Yeah, I studied to be a priest. I'm your man. I can do this. Also, we're going to take all the fancy windows and statues in the monasteries and sell that for cash and put it in my bank so I can use it for the army.
And the priest, I mean, you could argue that the priest it's better to be priest than a king.
It can be a quiet job, but you're going to be fed. You can make beer at night. Some make champagne, but most English monasteries make beer. Not to mention German monasteries make a lot of beer.
And while nuns have had songs written about them in the 60s.
Here we go.
There's only one king. Well, no, there were 2 kings, actually, right? Henry VIII. And so they wrote a song about him, but then Roger Miller also wrote King of the Road. So take that how you want to take it.
One king after another. So tomorrow at 2 a.m., I'm going to be sawing logs. Personally.
You're not going to get up to watch the whole.
I think I'll have to take the highlight version. Can you give me the highlight version? Or somebody's going to replay the whole thing. It's like the Rose Parade. After the parade's over, they replay it again. Why'd you get up so damn early? They're going to play the whole damn parade again.
I do that with the Thanksgiving Day parade all the time. I get up at 5:00 in the morning to watch it live because there's just something about seeing it live, and then they start the whole damn thing over again once they play it. Tomorrow I'll think of my dad.
Was he a fan of the royal family?
No, but my dad had this expression he always used to use when he would get mad at me. He would say, I'm going to crown you. Which I think meant hit you in the back of the head.
I think so.
Yeah.
You were going to receive a blow to the noggin.
Somehow, somewhere, I was getting a smack in the head. But tomorrow will be the first time in my life that I'll see a coronation, so I will think of my father saying, I'm going to crown you because this guy's going to be getting crowned tomorrow.
He's going to go through all the pomp and circumstance. The funny thing is, nobody knows what to do next. There's like one guy who knows how you do the next part. And that's why they all sort of stand around. He explains to, okay, now we're going to go over there and open the book. Then what? Then we stand there for a little while and pretend that we're reading it in reverence. Oh, I can do that. Bow your head, look good.
What happens if this guy has a heart seizure tomorrow morning?
King William is...
No. The guy who knows how to do all of this stuff. Does everybody know how to do it, or just this one guy?
No. The pomp and circumstances, not everybody knows, believe me. It's just an impossible thing to know.
Yeah, I was going to say, if this guy, if Mr. Pomp and Mr. Sir... Oh, by the way, I had to stop for a second because they were doing an interview on CNN a little while ago, and the erstwhile anchor on CNN said, "Oh, so there's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstances."
No. Oh, how embarrassing. I remember I was watching a story from Mexico on local television, Channel 7, and the anchor said, this next story takes place in Oaxaca. I go, what? What? Do you mean Oaxaca? Remember the little place up the coast from here in Ventura County called Port Hueneme?
Yes.
I love it because it's a Spanish word. Actually, it's an Indian word that's been opted by the Spanish, spelled Hueneme. And if you think it's Huemini, you're wrong. It's Hueneme.
Port Hueneme. Made famous by the Beach Boys in Surfing USA.
They should have gone there with the Monkees. They should have done something in Port Hueneme. The Monkees take on Port Hueneme.
Yeah.
The Monkees attack Port Hueneme.
I have a friend that grew up there, actually, in Hueneme.
Really?
Hueneme, yes. The old program director at KUSF was from Port Hueneme.
It's my favorite example of a word that you cannot pronounce where you think you can. I remember once I filed a story from on KSWB, and I was in I said San Pedro. I had to recut the whole thing and say San Pedro. Because that's just the way it is. It's just been San Pedro for so long that it can't be San Pedro now. It's too late. We're past that.
Right. I screwed up Pull Y'all Up there for a long time.
I like Pull Y'all Up.
But I like the way I said it. You can call it Y'all Up if you want.
Hey, Joe Heward went into the portal, and he's playing for somebody else this year. Besides, he's playing for an old coach who left Washington, and they think he's going to have a good season.
Sam did?
Yeah, Sam Heward, is that the latest one? I call him Joe.
So many of them, it's hard to keep track.
Well, wait, the next one's coming up. He's going to be the one.
Boy, that's got to be a blow to the somebody.
The Heward family.
I don't know that they care anymore.
I think that they care about their reputation and their long history with UW.
I think that Brock moved. I heard that Brock is now a resident of Colorado.
Oh, really?
Because he didn't agree with the politics
of
here in Washington.
So Governor Isley gave him gave him walking papers, let him go.
He's one of the Inslee brothers. I don't know if you remember them from this.
Was he DFA?
I don't know, but I guess so. He now does his show, his I guess his, because he has a morning show here that he does with the radio station formerly known as ESPN, 710. But I guess he does that show now from Colorado every morning.
Well, Colorado compared to Washington is probably more liberal than Washington, and given the total population. And
I think it's the same situation here, though, as you have here. If you're in Denver or Colorado Springs or something like that, it's
Boulder,
awful Republican. I mean, it's
yeah,
awful Democrat. But once
right.
you get out of when you start to head up to Breckenridge and maybe some of those places, um,
Aspen,
well, Aspen I would think would be liberal, fairly liberal.
I would think all of the ski
Yeah, yeah, the
resorts would be,
Hollywood, it's like Park City. Park City is probably the most liberal place in Utah.
but the rural areas of Colorado have always been conservative,
Yeah,
like the rural areas of Washington are. So I don't
right.
know
So I think it's a similar situation, which leads me to say, well, why the hell did you even move?
Well, I was thinking that it would be easier to
Could have gone
travel. He has to travel during football season a lot, so it's
yeah,
easier. Might be easier to get to every place he has to go to with a shorter flight if he's leaving from Denver.
could have moved to Yakima, the Palm Springs of Washington.
They have sunbreaks in Yakima. It's probably sunny and 80 degrees there right now.
They have a sun dome.
Who knew?
Well, we probably should. Oh yeah, I know. I had another question for you. So about the coronation.
Hmm.
Stupid question, but I'll ask it anyway. Um, do you do you think there would be an advantage tomorrow in going to Canada to watch the coronation?
Good question. Emotionally, they're closer to the deal than we are.
Well, yeah, because there's still a British
Commonwealth.
Commonwealth. The only
Uh,
Commonwealth I've ever lived in is Pennsylvania.
it's a different thing, but they do call themselves the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think there's two Commonwealths, right? Pennsylvania and Virginia. I know it's different, but so I was just trying to think about that for a minute and see if it's probably the cool place to be would be Victoria, right? I mean, because they have the old hotel and all of that stuff going on over there.
Yeah, I think there's going to be no match to being in London. I don't know how you
Well,
could
I
get.
don't, I mean,
Well, what would you do if you went there? Because Clarence and Jenny naturally have plans.
well, I would look for them and try to snap a couple of pictures that I could sell
Well,
to
the
anyone.
guys that are taking care of their hotel and flight and everything, they won't talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm not in the same league as Clarence and Jenny. So I think after we do after we take mushrooms in Ojai, they're hopping a flight at LAX and they're out of here. They're going to the the coronation. The coronation is important because he's already king. He is the king of England,
Yeah, yeah.
but he hasn't got his
His father hasn't crowned him yet.
divine right offered by the Church of England, which guarantees that whatever he comes up with is law, is right, is just, is meant to be. It is whatever the king says becomes law, becomes reality via his divine right brought to him by the gods of God knows where they are.
Call me when you can bring back two of the Beatles.
Only
That's
two?
there's two still alive.
Well, first of all, it's a trick question. He's going to bring in Pete Best. I know this guy. Now you got one.
Yeah.
He's going to have to bring back John Lennon or George Harrison. I don't know how that's going to work.
Got to bring both of them back. You got to bring back the four pop. You have to have the four popular Beatles.
Shall we talk about this on Monday? It could be a morose.
Because we've now done a 2-hour show, which I think is a record for us.
It is, and it was so easy.
Yes, it seemed to be today, didn't it? All right, I'm going to go back out to the rain, and because as the Turtles once sang, you don't have to walk in the rain anymore. And I will catch up with you Monday morning at
10
10:10.
past 10. 10.
if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise and the king gets coronated.
He will. He will. I wish he had taken another name, but it's going to be Charles III.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on with something cool. Something King Ringo.
The
How
first.
freaking cool would have that been?
And he's got plenty of rings, and he can take more jewelry from his mother's crown and make more. He kind of brings in every finger.
King Ringo. Man, that would have made England. That would have put England like at number one in everybody's like what's the coolest place in the world list. Well, place with King Ringo.
King Ringo. King Ringo the first.
Ringo the first, baby. Peace, love, Manischewitz, baby.
Oh, what a wine. See you,
Happy
Ben.
anniversary, Pally.
Thank you.
All right. Give my love to Kristen. See you later, Michael. See you all tomorrow morning for drive time. Right here on the Mikey and Vinnie broadcasting, taking on the world whole network thing. Bye.